Yo dudes, it's Blake from Great Knuckles Lacrosse, and on this week's Fogo Friday we are testing out traditional pockets and face-off heads. Before I get into the video, I would like to make a quick announcement. There will not be a Fogo Friday next week. Reason being, I just got a product in that I am doing a 2-week long review on to do a serious torture test on it and to see if I personally like it. So our next Fogo Friday video will be 2 weeks from now. The idea of this video came to me because I've been doing a lot of mesh reviews and I was thinking outside the box. And I decided, hey, maybe a traditional pocket would be pretty well for face-offs. So this is a pita pocket strung up by yours truly. Not a bad pocket. Nothing special about these materials. I believe these leathers are just from my local lacrosse shop, and this is just your simple spool of cross lace. I'm going to be reviewing this pocket as if it was a normal piece of mesh that I'm testing out to see how well it is from different face-off perspectives. So the first test I'm going to do is the shelf test, which is when the ball is in the back of our stick. And when we go to pull the ball out, we're going to see how well it holds in the back of the stick vertically. And as you can see, it holds very well. Give it a few shakes. It's still in there pretty well. And just to prove that it's not stuck, oh, ball comes right out, no problem. So right out of the gates, this traditional pocket has a tremendous shelf. The next test we're going to do is the bubble test. And for those who don't know, it's when our mesh is like this after a face-off. And after we pop the ball out and the ball is coming down, we're going to see if the mesh can pop all the way back down to its normal position. Not too bad. A few cradles don't go away. Let's try that again. Reasonable height. Okay, yeah, not too bad. As you just saw, the traditional pocket isn't the greatest for the bubble test, but it still passes. I definitely have used worse pieces of mesh before that did not pass the bubble test at all, but it still passed, so that's all that matters. So far, it's looking pretty good for the traditional pocket. It passed both tests pretty well. So now let's get into the details, the pros and cons of using a traditional pocket for face-offs, and actually see if it's a good option for guys who face off. So how I have the head strung up right now, the biggest problem I am seeing is how I connected the traditional to the sidewall. You guys should know by now that CEOs crack all the time, and this kind of string job that I did, I wasn't thinking about during the time, but I really regret it now. This string job will not last on a face-off head, especially with a CEO, because it's going to crack, it's going to slip out, and then the traditional will just fall right through. So that's probably the biggest downside about using traditional in a face-off head, especially a CEO. You have to work around the fact that the sidewall holes crack. So if you can do some sort of floating string or whatever you guys can figure out, you can definitely use it then, but I definitely do not suggest using this kind of string job for the sidewall. And another bad thing about traditional pockets and face-off heads is the convenience. Now what I mean by convenience is the ability to run to a store and grab a new piece of mesh if your head breaks. We're all going to break heads sooner or later down the road, and it's really nice to be able to run to the store and grab a piece of mesh and just string it up, pound the pocket out, and you're ready to go. Problem with traditional, you don't have that convenience. You have to take time and set the pocket, set the knots, do whatever. It's going to take a long time to actually get a traditional pocket functional and throwing nice. And with the limited time we have as face-off guys just trying to get heads going right out the doors, this isn't that convenient versus using a piece of mesh. The next problem that I'm seeing with this traditional pocket is the amount of knots that are on the head. We don't really take this into consideration with mesh because there's just sidewall strings, but with traditional, you're going to have a lot of more extra knots, especially down here at the bottom of the head. And the problem with knots is they tend to get caught on either the ground, turf, your opponent's head, whatever. And whenever you get those knots snagged, it's going to pull, and it's going to throw off the tension in the pocket, and that's just going to be a big old mess to fix later. Now I'm sure you can figure out some way to limit the amount of knots you've done. I just did a normal, standard, traditional pocket without the mindset of having it be used for a face-off pocket. And the last and final thing I can find that is negative about using a traditional pocket in a face-off head comes from the whole knot pulling part, and that is the adjusting. Now this pocket isn't that old, it's only been used for about a week of face-offs. The knots are just now setting into the leathers, and I can probably see in the future that if you keep using this over time, these knots are going to slide up and down just because the pocket's not really meant to be pushed in this way, especially have a ball on the back side with an opposing force going on it. And the reason why I'm listing that as a con is because if you use mesh, you don't have to worry about that, but since traditional has individual knots, that is one thing you have to worry about later on down the road. And now on to the pros of using a traditional pocket inside a face-off head. The one that's probably the most evident is the actual structure of the pocket. And when I mean by structure, I mean kind of the stiffness. It's not stiff in a way, you know, like we saw earlier, the bubble. It's not stiff in that sense. It's stiff so where the ball can stay nice and snug in the back of our stick, and while we're rotating, we don't have to worry about sliding up and down the back of this head. We can have it right in the spot where we want it to be. We can easily pop it out and catch it, and we're good to go from there. We don't have to worry about the pocket bagging out like mesh does, or worry about all the things that come with mesh being so thin. We just have a nice structured pocket that's going to be very consistent for us. The consistency in a traditional pocket is unmatched. And what I mean by consistency is I'm able to have the ball in the back of my stick, pop it out, and I'll go out the exact direction where I want it to go. I'm able to catch it in the front. I can make a good solid pass to wherever I want it to go. Another perk of using traditional in your face-off heads is how slim the back of the pocket is. I have a lesser chance of the ball actually getting stuck in the back of the stick versus a mesh pocket, because with mesh it tends to bunch up with the whole knots. If you don't string it the way I do, you will run into this problem where the knots all bunch up down in here on top of the sidewall string. Here you don't have to worry about mesh, you just have to worry about the sidewall string, which is great because there's still a lot of room in the back of the stick, but the leathers definitely hold the ball in place. But the fact that the sidewalls aren't closed inwards like this and squeezing the crap out of the ball, they can just come out no problem. So after all the testing and actually taking a few reps with this pocket, I've come to realize that you can actually use traditional in face-off heads if you string it up properly. If you can manage to string the pocket to be more face-off friendly, where the sidewalls aren't dependent on the actual head itself, or you can limit the amount of knots you actually use throughout the pocket, and this is definitely a great option for face-off guys. I can definitely see someone who faces off and stays on using this kind of pocket. It has a great shelf, it has little to no bubble, it has great hold on the front side of the pocket, and it's very consistent. So for those who actually face off and stay on, I already did a video on my top 5 heads, but for those who are looking for, hey, what's a great pocket for my kind of play, I would definitely recommend trying a traditional pocket. I might sound stupid now suggesting that you can use a traditional pocket for face-off heads, but trust me, if you can get your hands on traditional, definitely try facing off with it. You'll definitely change your look on what traditional is. At first, I thought this was just some freaking fancy crap, but I love it. It's great. It's a great option for face-off guys. Traditional pockets get the GKL approval. And remember, I'm just some stupid YouTuber who likes to put his opinion on things. So make sure you get your hands on some traditional, see if you like it yourself. And that wraps up this week's Fogo Friday. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Any questions on facing off with traditional pockets, or any questions in general, be sure to leave them in the comment section below. Be sure to like and share this video, subscribe to our channel, and if you haven't already, check us out on Instagram at GreenKnucklesLacrosse. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys 2 weeks from now. Till then kids, get 'em dirty.